starting point, I guess, is the fact that through our migrant victim support work, we're routinely, very regularly and frequently contacted by victims of racism and hate crimes from all around the country. And it's become very clear to us that there's a lack of specialist trauma-informed support for victims. There's also a need to improve access to justice, access to safety, to recovery for victims of racism and hate crimes, and for racialised communities in general. There's also a need to strengthen cross-agency practices and support. So we've looked to a model that follows guidance from the OCSC's Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights on how they provide or recommend support covering the need to be victim-centred, needs-based, diversity-sensitive, etc. So with this funding now, we're in a position to build a national service provider network of support organisations that standardises the approach, taking into consideration all of those recommendations and ensuring that there is specialist casework, specialist support, including things like court accompaniment, etc., for people who are victims of racism and hate crimes.
Would this be, or would it entail, John, getting in touch with existing supports, existing organisations that provide mental health support or counselling, for example? I'm thinking of a number of voluntary charities that would provide that type of service to the general public. Would it be about liaising with them so that they have specialist training to ensure that they can give the support that the likes of asylum seekers might need?
Absolutely. So we'll be engaging, first of all, in specialist casework under this project. We'll have regional outreach and community clinics, but we'll also have training and we'll establish protocols for organisations that in many cases are already providing supports. And we'll be looking to see what the needs are across the country. We'll also be feeding into and collaborating closely with the Irish Network Against Racism, INAR, and ensuring that there is ongoing robust monitoring and learning that feeds into their work, but also feeds into national policy under the National Action Plan Against Racism.
Can you talk more about this rise in racism you're referring to, John? What is the nature of the incidents that are being reported to you, and where are they taking place?
So they're taking place right across the country, but we have seen in recent months that there are a number of very violent attacks on migrants in urban settings. But in addition to those very violent physical attacks that have been reported, there are many other incidents of physical attack, of harassment, of intimidation, of verbal abuse, of comments being made to people. And as a result, a lot of people from migrant and refugee backgrounds are now more uneasy and often more concerned about just walking on the street. So it's really important that we work together to address this. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. We need to ensure that our leaders and our politicians are very careful in relation to the rhetoric and what they say around migration, because this is migration is an essential element of Ireland today. We cannot run our health services, our hospitality sector, our construction industries without people from other parts of the world. And we need to eliminate racist attacks and abuse. But in the process of doing that, we want to ensure through our work that we're providing the access to justice and to the other supports to people who are victims who need it, and that we're doing that in a victim-centred and diversity kind of sensitive way.
This comes in a week when the Irish Congress of Trade Unions has urged the Minister for Justice to act on violence and aggression against minorities, and it is said that recent months have seen a spate of violent assaults and hate crimes against minorities across Ireland, and increasingly workers from a minority background are facing verbal and physical attacks travelling to and from their workplaces. Do you have much insight into this type of abuse taking place in the world of work, John?
We're hearing about this anecdotally, and we've had incidents over the years through our Gateway to Employment project, as well as our migrant victim support work at Doris, of people who were being harassed and discriminated against in their workplaces, in some cases, as you say, going to and from work, just going about their business. And there is an urgent need to address this. Now, we know that the vast majority of people are welcoming, are friendly, are not going to harass or abuse their neighbours or their work colleagues because of their skin colour. But there's a very small minority who are doing this. And then there are people who are just not paying enough attention or not being aware of the racism and the ways in which they're discriminating through their ongoing actions and their everyday attitudes to others.